What's going on, guys? It's Kyle again with DTOM Knives and Gear. Today we're going to be taking a look at this sexy beast. This is the Arcform Slimfoot. Look at that. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. All right, the Arcform Slimfoot. This knife I first saw from Lefty EDC. Kevin, my brother, this is his knife. He has sent it over for review, and we love him for it. Me and Kevin are just the best of friends because he's just awesome. Me, Kevin, Jake from Bearded Gear, I know you're going to you've heard their names a lot. You're going to continue to hear their names a lot because they are my best friends in the community, and we send each other our knives back and forth. And this is Kevin's. When I first saw this knife from him, I got excited. I was like, man, I really like the way this thing looks. And I've never had an Arcform knife. This one is produced by Riot, which of course I do love. I love Riot manufactured products because they just do an excellent job. In my opinion, they are the epitome, the top of the top, the creme de la creme of Chinese manufacturers. I absolutely love them. Everything they've done, I've liked. This one's no different. I really, really dig this design. The designer's name is Jeff. I'll put it right here. I'm going to butcher the last name. But anyway, that's the designer. And I am a fan. This one is a flipper only. And you guys know flipper onlys, doesn't really stay long with me because they kind of get boring. It kind of threw me and was teasing me because it does have that fuller down there, but it is not enough room to be able to do the reverse flick. If that was possible, it would be a game changer for this knife for me. But it is only a flipper. However, the flipper tab, I am in love with. I really dig this flipper tab. It doesn't really stick out very far. It has jimping in the right place. It's very, well done. It's not too sharp. And it is one hell of a flipper. It fires out of there with authority, and I mean, I can barely fail it. I mean, you probably can fail it, but it's hard. The detent on this knife was tuned to perfection. I really, really like it. I just wish I could do the middle finger flick. It's just my thing, right? But other thing that's kind of different about this one, most all Riot manufactured knives are very fall shut. This one is not a fall shut action. It is, however, very, very smooth. Now, this one is wearing the skiff bearings that were put into this knife by Kevin. He put skiffs in almost all of his knives if he can. And I don't know if it helped the action, but the action is very glassy smooth. It's just not a fall shut guillotine kind of thing, But I really like the action. I could play with this knife just because of, so smooth. Has a good sound. I like the way it sounds. Now, this one is the full titanium version. They also have some that have a carbon fiber. I've seen copper, brass, other materials of an inlay on the very top, which looks cool. I'm not a huge fan most of the time of just the inlay. I like inlays, but it covers basically the whole top of the knife, and then the pivot is covering that whenever they go. I just don't think it looks as good as this full titanium version. The titanium is raw and or blasted, looks blasted to me, maybe a light stone wash, but it looks really, really good. And I think it's a great kind of a start. If somebody wants to do some custom anodization, this knife would be great for that. The pocket clip on this side is not very deep carry, but it works really, really well. It has your Arcform there. However I'm going to do this. Arcform there. And usually I don't really like branding on the pocket clip. To me, it doesn't really matter. I just probably would rather have it not be there. It's just my thing. I do not care about people knowing that I have a knife in my pocket because I live in Alabama and everybody carries a knife. Not that anybody would see this and automatically think knife, because I don't think many people would know. But in any case, the pocket clip works really well and it carries really well in the pocket. It is relatively thin. This thing is called the Slimfoot, but there's not much that's really slim on this knife. It's got a pretty decent size blade stock with a beautiful hollow grind, which we'll get to. Full titanium frame lock with an over travel stop. The way they did the cutouts there for the lock is very different and interesting, but it works really well. There is very nice room to get your hand in there and let it fall, or to get your thumb in there, excuse me, to let it fall. It's very easy, the access to the lock bar, so I really like that. Ergonomically, it is okay. It's not a dream in the hand, so it has relatively neutral lines, right? And it has this primary finger troll to grab, and then of course, you know, with my big old mitts, my pinky kind of halfway falls off in this grip. It's not uncomfortable. I do feel like I've got a good purchase on the knife, but it has this little area here where the flipper tab is, where you can kind of choke up. It's not the best, but you can choke up, and this feels really good. And that's usually how I held the knife. It falls on my fingernail, and this lets you, you know, like I want. It doesn't have that really big double clutch like I hate on some knives. So all in all, I love it. The blade shape is a sheep's foot. I love a good sheep's foot blade. You have the fuller there. You have those beautiful grind lines on the hollow grind, and then on the flat as a satin. Big, huge swedge on the top on both sides. And let's see, what is the thickness of this thing? It's about 150 thousandths thick on the blade stock. So it's, you know, a relatively good size. It's also pretty thick this way. So we're about, you know, 0.55 inches thick. So I liked it. I like that because it feels the hand better. But it's not slim. I don't really know what they were going for with the Slimfoot. But I don't really care because I like the size of the knife. It's not the perfect size for me, but it's good. There is no jimping on the top here, which I like that it doesn't have, unless they put it up here where my thumb usually goes. But the only people that really tend to do that is Giant Mouse. They do their jimping very well because it's further up on the blade. But this is a very comfortable knife. I have to admit, it's not the best ergonomically in the world, but it works. And then, oh, dude, this hollow grind gets down to like 16 thousandths behind the edge. Now, that's nice. That's really good. But with the thicker blade stock, you know, that kind of hinders it, that being that thin, because you have to go all the way up here and get past that. In my daily task of what I usually do, cutting a little cardboard, zip ties, packages, all that stuff, it works really well. It's a very slicey blade. Let's go ahead and cut something, right? Let's cut some cardboard. See how it kind of stops there? I mean, it's hardly resistance. I mean, it cuts really good, but because of the thickness of the blade in that fuller, it kind of maybe jig-jags a little bit. It's not a huge deal because it cuts and it cuts well, but it's not as slicey as it could be, I think, with this blade stock being just a little bit thinner. And then the fuller, I love a fuller. I want the fuller to be there, but on this knife, I would almost rather have it not be there because I can't middle finger flick it anyway. Let's see what it does to the paracord. Perfect with the paracord. Very nice clean cut. See what it does to the twisted sisal rope, which is the tougher of them. Oh yeah, cut really, really well. So the knife as a cutter, it works well. It does have, you know, a tip here, not really a point, but it does have a tip on this sheep's foot blade to be able to pierce into something. And so, you know, it's not going to be the best at it, but it does work. So I love the utilitarian factor of the blade shape. I love the overall aesthetics. It's just a really nice knife made by Ria, which of course I love. You know, this backspacer is another thing that I really, really like. Just the way that they've done that's kind of different. That it does provide, not really. I mean, it's got what I guess you would call jimping, but it's not sharp enough to really feel. But I dig the way it looks. I really like that just extra touch. There is no lanyard hole or anything, but the pivot is really nice. Got a little bit of a design there. So all the hardware seems to be very, very well done. It's perfectly centered, and I just like it. Now, I don't know if it's going to be one of those knives where I have to have. It's a titanium frame lock flipper, right? And so for me, and the only thing I can do is use the flipper. I just don't know if I will see myself purchasing this. However, for a titanium frame lock flipper, it's very, very good. It is, you know, re-op made. So this one in this configuration is about $320. If you get the ones with the fancy inlays, you might reach up to about $350. And then I have seen some, I don't know if they're still in stock, but in other websites go down to like $295. And do I think that's a good price? I really do, because it's re-up manufactured. You've got M390 titanium, good hardware. So the price, it's worth it. You know, would I have said that years ago whenever I was carrying around my Spydercos and the Benchmades and whatnot? I don't know. I mean, it's not exactly chump change, that's for sure. But for what you're getting in this design, if you like this design, I think it is a win. Because I just really love this thing as far as the way it looks. It is one hell of a sexy blade. And then, like I said, if you like to anodize or send it to somebody for anodization, I think it's a great canvas for that. So let's go ahead and get behind the camera, get some specs and some size comparisons on this beautiful Arcform Slimfoot. All right, let's get a good look at this thing. All right, so as you can see, plain titanium, kind of a blasted, yet a little bit of stone washing there that it looks like is going on there for me. Here is that beautiful backspacer with that little groove in it that I just think is a very, very nice touch. Golly, this is a solid feeling knife that is just gorgeous, right? There is your Arcform logo on this side, and you also have your logo on that side. There is no metal or steel marking on this, but it is M390, and you guys know M390 is one of my favorite EDC steels. It is just a great all-around steel that I really like. There's another look at this pivot, the satin on the pivot. I really like the fact that they did this really kind of a high polished on the hardware. I think it is aesthetically really nice for this blade. And then, of course, see, this pocket clip, it really works well. It's relatively thin. I almost always like a thicker pocket clip. It's just my preference, but it is kind of long. I think some people have said they'd like to see it a little shorter, but I think the length on it is very well done. It is very good in and out of the pocket. And now, the weight of this guy, I think it's a good weight for the thickness of this, but it does weigh around 4.5 ounces, so that's going to turn a lot of people off, but I really think it carries phenomenally. I don't think you're going to feel it, that kind of weight, which I think is perfectly fine, but I know a lot of people count the ounces. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. You know, you probably wouldn't wear it with slacks or basketball shorts, but any other kind of pants, I think it's going to work great. This one is an overall length of 7.875, so just under that 8-inch mark. I usually like it to be 8 inches or longer, but size-wise, it's still very good. It's got a 3.5-inch blade. That's a plus. 3.375-inch cutting edge with, like I said, 150 thousandths on the blade stock thickness, but with the hollow grind, 16 thousandths behind the edge. That is wonderful. I love the fact that they put the hollow grind on here. I don't think it would have been as appealing if it was a full flat grind. So kudos for them for doing that. Handle length is about 4.5 inches. The handle thickness, like I said, about 0.55 inches. And then the weight of 4.64 ounces. So really like it. It is unfortunately tip up right hand only. I do kind of wish that they had the pocket clip that would be reversible for all the lefties out there. I have to give Lefty love because of Lefty EDC. He is my boy. Let's see what it looks like compared to some of the other knives in the collection, shall we? Let's go ahead and put it up against the PM2. As you can see, the PM2 is just a tad bit longer, but definitely a lot thinner. And the PM2 is not really known as being the thinnest knife in the world, but it is definitely a lot thinner. Let's go ahead and show you that. So yeah, definitely thicker, but I like it. I like it because it fills my hand out really, really well. So let's go ahead and put it up against some other titanium. Oh my God. Sorry. All right, well, the one that I had in my hand, we're going to probably let slide because it is now on the floor. It's my knife, and it's on carpet, so it didn't really mess anything up. Here it is against the Quiet Carry Waypoint. Very similar as far as satin blades, blasted titanium. They look really similar. Now, of course, you've got much thicker knife and just a tad bit longer than your Quiet Carry Waypoint. Here's another. This is one of my all-time favorite titanium frame locks. This one has thumb studs, but this is the Chavez 229. And as you can see, the 229 has it just a little bit by the on the overall length. This one also has a hollow grind. Very comparable knives, also made by Riot. And I love their knives. The grinds, the fit and finish, everything about their manufacturing is absolutely money. And this is no exception. It is a very well-built knife that I can see anybody using for their EDC. And if you want to use this thing harder, you definitely could. It is a beautiful and very well done. I mean, this thing feels like a tank. You know, it feels so solid. Now, of course, you get full titanium handles, and that always adds to that. But I just don't know, man. This thing, to me, feels like it could be a lot harder use of a knife than most of the EDC style knives that I have in the collection. Like I would feel more comfortable using this all day, every day, than I would the Quiet Carry Waypoint. Now, it's very well made as well, but it just is not that beefiness that I like, which is probably what drew me to it. I like the well-built, the overbuilt knives, and I'm not going to say this is overbuilt, but it feels very, very solid, and I think it's just a wonderful choice. If you're looking for something a little bit different, especially Riot manufactured, God, there's so many good choices, but this is one of my favorites as far as a sheep's foot blade flipper only. I really wish I could do the middle finger flick. However, I can't. That's just something I'm gonna have to deal with. But this knife, I can totally recommend. It is a beautiful piece of manufacturing by Riot. That is that's just one of the knives that every time I see it, I want it, you know, I want it in hand. And you know, it's not all knives do that. I'll see it and I'm like, okay, you know, it's cool. If I get it on the channel, yay. If I don't, I really wanted to get this on the channel, and I'm so glad for Lefty EDC for allowing me to do that. He purchased this knife. I am not sure if they're still in stock, but if they are, I will put a link down in the description, regardless if it's still in stock, but where you can go look at the specs and maybe put on a mailing list or whatever for it to come back in stock, because it's a really good one that I think everybody should possibly try, especially if you have not tried a Riot manufactured knife. This is definitely a good one. Guys, I love you all. Stay safe in this friggin' crazy world that we are living in, and we will see you in the next one.